Daut she's the Jimmy Brownfeather utility story and I seek. I'm not the 2 degrees out west yet the shrunk. Hello, my name is Jimmy Brownfeather, and this is 2 degrees out west.
Welcome to 2 Degrees Out West, a podcast for advocates and decision makers who want to fight climate change and its impacts across the West. On 2 Degrees Out West, we talk with climate experts and advocates to bring you stories, experiences, and insights from their work in the places we call home. I'm your host, Dave Papineau. Before we get started with today's show, a few housekeeping notes. If you're a frequent listener, you might not recognize my voice, and that's because I'm new to WRA. My name is Dave Papineau, and I'm the new multimedia specialist, as well as the host for 2 Degrees Out West. When I'm not hosting this podcast or running WRA's social channels, you can find me skiing, biking, or hiking around my home state of Colorado. I'm thrilled to be a part of WRA's team and look forward to bringing you the stories and voices of the Western fight against climate change. You'll hear more from me later, but for today, I wanted to share a conversation WRA's Senior Policy Advisor Kim Mitchell had with Cheryl Pailzote and Lydo Harvey about initiatives that the White Mountain Apache Tribe is taking to save water. As a note, and as you've probably already heard, this podcast has been translated into Apache by Jimmy Brownfeather, so you'll hear that throughout the episode. Now, here's Policy Advisor Kim Mitchell with Cheryl Pailzote, Lydo Harvey, and Jimmy Brownfeather of the White Mountain Apache Tribe.
As climate change causes the West to become hotter and drier, communities are working hard to find ways to stretch increasingly limited water supplies. My name is Kim Mitchell, Senior Policy Advisor at Western Resource Advocates, and on this episode of 2 Degrees Out West, I'll be talking with Cheryl Pailzote and Lydo Harvey about a new initiative that the White Mountain Apache Tribe in East Central Arizona is undertaking in partnership with WRA to save water in the West. We're also joined by Jimmy Brownfeather, who will be translating today's podcast into Apache. Cheryl Pailzote has worked with the tribe for 20 years and currently serves as the Water Resources Program Manager. She has extensive experience in environmental science, watershed hydrology, and water rights. Lydo Harvey is a director of the Tribal Utility Authority, where he has worked for 14 years. He has certifications in both water treatment and water distribution. Jimmy Brownfeather is co-director for the Tribal Utility Authority, where he has worked for 38 years. He's worked in every program within the utility, but currently focuses on wastewater and maintenance. Thank you for joining me all today.
Good morning. Shortly, correct Kim Mitchell was in Fanya, Senior Policy Advisor was a Western Resource Advocate. Go the correct record out let go the still it out or let the two which is the two how that the two how not go see neither the bit I tell let's go in if it's the out there or already go still it out.
I'd like to start by learning more about each of your roles. Cheryl, what drew you to work in water, and what do you do as the Water Resources Program Manager?
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Pailzote. What drew me into this field is that I like the outdoors. Growing on the reservation, I lived right by the river and have been farming with my family ever since I was a child. Those were the things that really interested me and drew me into this field. So what kind of work do? I oversee the Water Resources Program. We manage and monitor all the water resources on the reservation, from snow to rain to stream flows and groundwater. We manage grants that we currently have. We also provide technical assistance to other programs. That is how I started working with the Tribal Utility Program to find ways to improve our water management.
Ago the Cheryl Pailzote, the Water Resource Program Manager in Lila. Ago how the Binastiki ba Kenya was on a bit kiko the correct Chagashan China the 2.1 in Dila a 2.0 Lina farm in Canada at Tehi Ara sheen she ma she ta she parents go a bit giant boss did you a which is down two hayunar and lini that's not here that you two not here a two um monitor with the still the unish a the unish sa grants which is down how jalin and tehi a kada this the technical assistant was the tahe department yichira deal ako na izik you travel utility that so di with the water management was a which is the
And Lydo, what brought you to work in water, and what do you do as a director of the Tribal Utility Authority?
For me, it just started out as a place to work, a place to have a job. As I progressed, I started to learn more about the importance of water and the service it provides for the people. That's what really drew me to, take on this job seriously, to take it seriously. And, trying to, as a director, we try to come up with better solutions and ways to provide safe drinking water at adequate pressures throughout the whole reservation for all of the community members, and, feeding the important businesses and buildings as like the hospitals and dialysis centers. It really gives us a reason to try to be the best at what we're doing.
ko ti kari Lydo hanana la ko how na birikiti how utility yunarin zik belta ju na birikitla ko si na zik na ti to ha rote buse ko tera ne ndini e na siki bi yo khasiu e to how another e how to how to be how kira aras lini how generas lini sur which is do ira tel bus tel panasau di yao silte sili ko e kari di tiu ta e bikina city water pressure da the kai sa ira dera bo tahio ko hayu tu na li ira bo ai ke silte di tiu ako ti tu stay pa arresti the reservation in deal yeti in all.
And Jimmy, what do you do at the Tribal Utility Authority?
Good morning again. I started working in 1986. I didn't apply for this job at that time. I applied for serviceman, meaning greasing and oil changing filter for heavy equipment. Then when I applied for that job, I got interviewed. During the interview, I was asked if I know anything concerning water and wastewater, which I didn't even know it, had no clue about it. So then, as the director of utility at that time asked me if I ever supervised, and I did when I was working on a railroad. So he asked me if I can supervise again, and I said, yeah, I can do it. So he put me on the water. We did some river crossing, and that's where I picked up my experience. As time and years went by, I started working with both water and wastewater. And then again, time and years went by, and I start going for certification. For as today, I hold 4 certification, 8 certifications, 2 in water and 2 treatment, and 2 for distribution, and 2 for wastewater and treatment and collection. I'm certified in both areas, and I put in a lot of years, and I know the utility is kind of leaning towards me for the experience and the water lines where they're at. And I was just telling Cheryl that I received numerous of letters from Social Security that I'm ready for retirement. I refuse that. I would just want to continue working for the tribe, and I'll be here for a few more years. Then I can call it quits. she Jimmy Brownfeather would say utility yun na isik. Na isik na hati mo sira na di tu tai sur which is daw you. Ako na isik biwa apply austra the heavy equipment oil change in like grease in filter change in which is apply austra na isik lene dini ana 1986 na narizikla ana da director Lin di ya fan supervisor sin li na shil diu na shil kitto beslish di ni rero bekana sikna beslish diu ya das supervise anan tle na shil diu beslish diu di two bitches do supervise unlet sayo sewer bitches do supervise unlet ako any na stikile shil diu Dini A which is the hot table sera how to not and lishi how to kira aras lishi how to has to kshihi so we're higher and lishi so hot table sera besistiu nistush desistiu ako besistiu ako narizik any now you could double begin I sikoria did you I sick adi September 22 ako 38 years ili la kuna siko ako di EPA certification was a wali untiu the wastewater which is the sewer was a how you which is just a certification wali sai two which is just a certification wali ako di geo certification that is the wali ako ku ta na sik di geo ta na sik dini to retirement was a to ha bitchishira di kore tslikai de di kinarancha community that hayo reservation because in da ko bichosh di sti kore ko ta na sik di jo da ko the 3 years da ha binish as it be ta na sik do les ana a shok.
Cheryl, can you tell us about the Fort Apache Indian Reservation and a little about your local water supplies?
Yes, the Fort Apache Indian Reservation is located in east central Arizona. It covers about 1.6 million acres and it ranges from 11,400 feet at Mount Baldy to about 3,000 feet at Salt River Canyon. The communities on the reservation are supported by surface water from the North Fork White River and for groundwater from the Minor Flat well field. This includes both deep wells and shallow alluvial wells in the Sibique community, Carrizo, and Cedar Creek community. So managing these systems during low flows in the summer and fall with increased demand from the communities create shortfalls for some communities during drought years.
Ako di Cheryl na bili kitlela di Cheryl na bili kititi how na fitu uli hindi la water supply with the how you ako Fort Apache Indian Reservation East Central Arizona use all a reservation in 1.6 million acres in Dila and Mount Baldy 11,400 feet in Dila ako di Salt River use 3,000 feet in Dila ako ebi yira te he tu naranli ako tu naranli ni sa harai tokla di zas na tinhe sai tu na tinhe na fa taknaw dita di well field ebi yo ako di the communities on the reservation need di distribute kohyola sai ka so hyu sai bidde yo sai ku chilwoz yo sai chabitu yo ako akura wa tu naran li da wa ako ba haraktok ako North Fork yo minor flat was there ako pump naran dil A2 haraktok la groundwater was there ana the shallow water wells was there dojo yage aratera ana a minor flat deep well they stila ayo ako di harastu kira wahtel is kinara zike dai nishila summary the yehong li gote sao user in sao 2 year rose they gote ana fall winter ye dau signatli ko still two baranosa was there gote shazdo yun dine ayo na pituran lida
Lydo, how have you seen climate change affect the tribe's water supplies?
The White Mountain Apache Tribe has 4 different public water systems on the reservation. We have Honda McNary, the Minor Flat Water System, and Carrizo and Sibique. Climate change has really affected the smaller water systems more so than the others, and that would be Sibique and Carrizo. It's gotten to the point where one of the smaller public water systems, Sibique, had to issue a state of emergency because the water sources and the wells weren't producing enough water because the demand was so high. That whole event was really eye-opening for us, and it made us realize that we don't really have a plan or a contingency for if our waters if our water sources go out, they get depleted so much that we can't pump anymore. And it's a subject that has been overlooked for a long time, and it's really important that we bring awareness to our tribal leaders and all of us as a whole on the reservation. Climate change is happening and it's in full effect, and it's starting to get more challenging to figure out, how much water we can produce with the surface water treatment plant. We, as soon as the surface water treatment plant was brought online in 2010, we were in a drought during that time. And over the span of 5 years while it was on, the river level had dropped so low that, we could only pump for a certain amount of time. And it was, it was jaw dropping to see, the river level dropped so low. At its lowest under normal conditions, we could inflate the dam to slow the river so we can pump water. But at the time, the river was so low that when we inflated the dam, it would stop the river entirely. Events like that shows us more and more that, climate change is happening.
Ako di kari Lydo na binari kitla the climate change like the geo beneficials so was stuck a bit two ne fitcha yaw daw di yaw la ti two so two ran lini ti ne figu ne ko na stuck a bi yo aku two ran lini ne fitcha yaw daw di ya sim q you that tesa aten di ani hatsi ke di CBQ no fit 2 year för ciao desiati ustocke bitchaya ako no fit was answerly dini di chin you don't take na sli ako kari rau take ako dai si indi da hatao da we was stock you no fit 2 fit cha ti will di indi we ya yestila ako ti san ako na pichu di yao di Red Cross e kui kai di la to be kohio haula tu be na pichu was on a do na ira kito tu yiltai spawns ne water bottle dai di kui tarai di una kai ne e na pichu ros di la e Red Cross e ako di chu e benefit was ai di na fit travel council listo sahe aku na faya na tsira cancel saya na fa da res in aku saya na fa tun da wudi haya tun aran ziki saya na fa da ni in yun sten de ya yestila ako this 2010 na saya 2015 na no fi tun lini yao di ya de la ten era ti zoro ha sound leader ako ti tun lini surface water treatment plant like the de mitak anal in hiu tun zo ha hatera natle ako ana na fichu di yai di chiu ta ako na fichu was ako ebe ti sahe barano sa ndio adi.
Thank you for that description, Lydo. The tribe recently received a grant to install around 570 water meters on the reservation. Cheryl, could you tell me more about the benefits of this project?
Yes, back in 2015, the tribe had started implementing a metering program. We went from having no meters to having meters installed in the community. And that was a big transition for our tribal members. Since that time, the Tribal Utility Office and the Office of Environmental Services continue to install meters, but not at the rate that we initially started. With this grant, we plan to install meters in several communities with priority areas that are most at risk. And this includes Cedar Creek, CBQ, Carrizo, White, and Canyon Day. This will help us to track water use and inform the people of when water conservation is needed.
Ko ti Cheryl na binari kitlati meter hatibi year install aral area hatibi oidith tu naran IB 2015 na wadi ya ndela ko hatawa beda still diu ya na itchkit ako ti grant was bichaya meters no funnis dila utility authority ako wadi ya ti CBQ yusa beda still Cedar Creek isto sa beda still White River system isto sa beda still ako ti kinde yunonte ako meters beda still la ito ta hotel meters da wali na hato meters beda still was the water conservation was la ko the de chels you two da no do two le haiben ara seora ako no fituin zaiben is aro leshawa ewa au ze ako hayena fitu di water meter
That's interesting, Cheryl. Thank you. Turning off the tap or faucet is often the first thing that comes to mind to save water. Lydo, can you explain to us how installing these water meters will help with water conservation?
Yes, as far as water conservation goes with the utility authority, having these meters in place will help us account for the water loss that's happening out in our distribution systems. We'll know which water is being used by the customers and where the water is leaking out from the system, and we'll be able to repair the leaks that we can't see. And conservation is a priority for us. Climate change is in full effect and everything is getting hotter. There are benefits to having meters installed, especially for the homeowners. If they have a leak inside their house, the water meter will be able to detect that and they'll be able to fix or replace whatever is leaking faster. A small pinhole, it adds up over time. Conserving water is just the main aspect and priority for installing meters. If you look at the big picture, this all comes back to water conservation. The storage tanks we have throughout the reservation are there to provide adequate water pressure. If we could conserve water, the tanks, will stay full and we'll be able to maintain the amount of water we're producing and identify how much water we're losing. Once we get the issues resolved, we can save more water than we're losing. Every public water system that we have a meter that's tracking how much water we're producing. That data collection there is very important. So we know how much we're producing, and with these meters in place, we'll know how much is being used.
Ako ti Lydo na binari kitla the tap like the kira na fi faucet haras how banatras kes how das general de ka tuch chira wa huzel ako Lydo na birish kit ako Lydo adi utility meters baranastra danyo 200 users ini yurtak la the gallons users ini yurtak ako ti no fi kira tuna razli lay water loss ndila ako water loss hay tuna razlini dila ako meter ginish ako yurtak dini ti kira tuna razlini no fast another te o yulte ako ti two da nasli wow you overall like the watching lay you two da no ti la water conservation was ako ti two da li ajo pipe is 30 years old nilita ajo ti tu ni na pipe beras dilis tara sa arate ako dar sto wuli sto ako ebe beginner I think dila the meters beras dili azo hayu tu distoleyu hayu tu nuficha hada da leyu aku nuficha da naratle o di inde nara zikilch naraitle la sahiyu dana fida ristila dini water conservation da sti stilo da ila the water tank na das ala the negustoke bigiyo community bigiyo water tank da nastra ako tu da no dile you water tank ita haiskis ntera wan ako da no fitu linte ako ti ewa tu da no di undi ko meteri a low pump house na rancha you ako meter da nastra to ko yeah, every day the 3 gallons haste okay ellos taklasto ako kate ste mideri ashok la berasta len diu adi sajda you ana ashok.
It's good to hear, Lydo, about the positive impact that these meters will have on water conservation. Thank you. And Cheryl, how will these water meters help you meet the community needs going forward?
The meters will help ensure that we meet daily water demands, particularly in hotter, drier months.
Ako ti Cheryl na binari kitla ti water meter how na fit odi how la be dan el i wazo azul te kate bedas dili ko ti hayu tu lig ar tile yo e na fit da hi da yo han tu sa yu ze ile e na fit da hi ako sten di la Cheryl e sto dan di yo di sto.
Lydo, can you describe for us what people can expect with these new meters? Will water bills change at all?
Well, they can definitely expect that the meter will record the amount of water that they're using. If if you leave your water on all day, whether you're watering the grass or you decide to wash your car at home, the meter is going to record how many gallons you used. It's pretty straightforward. The more water you use, the higher your water bill will be. In some cases, though, they might see that their water bill has gone down. If there are households where there's only one or two people, or if there's households where they only use water for the toiletries and for cooking and cleaning. People that are already conserving water, they'll probably see a significant decrease in the amount of their bill, monthly water bill. I believe that they can also expect to that they'll be more aware of how much water that they're using. The whole thing will probably, in a sense, bring awareness to the people. We'll hope to have them, as they pay for their water bills, and have them be aware of where their money goes, as it's going to the electricity that helps pay for their water and keeps their pumps running and helps the water treatment process. The price of everything has gone up, so the money that they pay, it also helps to keep their water on, and it also helps us to keep providing their water.
Ako ti laro na binari kitla de laro na binari kitti ti de how yana trickens water meter but bidas dili how da yinis I was on a bit kit ako ti de two song user is ile you da or also user is ile you also user is ile you azo be water bill de two gonna right disila zo sa kayo dini ti water meter bidas dili kera ya wuriya ako ti hazo sa user ira stay as though you ako ti de how to use alex ini asia ye bikehla dini kore aran ti you to da nos diu das di ba yeres titla ako ti to kaya pechao de gara ma rastel be no fitur sharo le sewa ewa auze ako the water conservation was a rutura nos diules istelo bayetla ako ti korenana na inari kiti tui ganana idili ejali hayo unite wuzeo na inariketla ako electricity wuzela te pump nalgoshi tu haistoke electric user hila ako jali unite la sa treatment process la di tu still arele di chemical business gig la sahe ako di still tunifich and Lydo la sewa ako di tu you di tu bigana di da what te he no kastanda sa anto price tak daw di ya la di ro wana tlaw ili wudi ya ako di ebe tu bigana na di shi da haye takodi ga wuldi diu ya yesti sto ako asun sto bana tsaras cancel.
Cheryl, you mentioned meters were previously installed on the reservation. What has been the impact of that earlier program?
Yes, there was meters installed in 2015 in the communities of Honda and McNary. And we found a 34% reduction in water use just in that community after those meters were installed.
Ako di Cheryl na binari kitla di meters beras di keno di nagustan no fi de tsekai de be community yo aku meters beras di how panatin kes diu di meters iras del na communities Honda yo sa Chabato yo aku bedas dilo 34% to use at a yaw di yaw dila da na ki community hi da asia ako stel na zikla ko kuda lini stel to dojo ya na rozei ko tera stel
Lydo, have you been able to catch any leaks with these meters that were installed a few years back?
Yes, at the time we had a plumbing program. We were getting a lot of calls and complaints from the customers whenever their bills were issued out and mailed to them. They were asking, why their water bill was so high. We were explaining to them that the water meters were picking up an excess use of water. They will explain to us that they haven't been using that much water. So our plumbing team will go out there and do an assessment, and we started finding service line breaks that were coming after the meter, and we were also finding plumbing leaks inside the house. Looking over the work orders from that time, we fixed over 160 leaks in just that community. That was a lot of money and water saved just from that.
Ako ti Lydo na pinari kit the water meter bedas still not how to leak at the how buran so sick wuzeo na birketla then the plumbing program wuze wulin in the na birketna ko ti de azo work orders arek iuri yao ko ti social bill is azo halata o tera tiu na ira keturia ko dainis ke ko be plumbing it tau leak arati le sa faucet yet to leak arati ko ti investigate ares you assessment was esta sajda you ko yeah you don't think ko kire sa to leak arati le ko ti some community be you 160 janara sitla andela jo da yon a lean de jo to use al every day 24 hours narazli ibe ate ako ti kira tu narazli ni sto na facha naral de on sto.
Thank you, Lydo. Detecting these leaks will certainly help conserve and stretch local water supplies. What are you both most excited about accomplishing through this project? Cheryl?
For me, it's getting these meters installed. It's been a project that has been ongoing for years. I remember when we first started thinking about how many meters we needed to install and how overwhelming it is. This project will help us get closer to our goal, and we can use it as an example for future support for the program.
Ako ti Cheryl na binari kitla the meter rate bedas still not how na pitch o di was ajo the meter bedas still not ana ajo the change ko 2015 na lai ajo yeo na tik yeo beda dis ajo overwhelming was ye ako ndini di project izura wanastel ben fasik and this goal was how you also was to hit in if ako ilayin ako future funding was you was to hit the grants nanti hibigyo sa meter nara was take on meter sa benara ideal so sound like live dinil down if it's ODA.
Lydo, what are you most excited about with this project?
From the utility aspect, ensuring the longevity of our water sources and cutting costs all the way around. Ensuring our people's water sources are going to be there for generations to come. This is a giant leap forward in achieving this goal.
Ako di Lydo na binari kitla hati ajon sisteti meter bana dili project it was ko Lydo di le you di utility yet chiris iyo ajo zayo binil tui the hazard de be tu bitte liu aran tehroles ajo water source ajo the hazard you call you the kui Sena ko tayo ako nilao ba aran tehroles ako steo da nili diniti meter bera dili sahe tu no fara nos diu ko nzayo binil dila.
Cheryl, what can community members expect as you roll out these meters?
Yes, so what we would first start is getting out into the communities and informing them about the installation of the meters, what they will be expecting in their communities. As far as the operators go, they will go and install meters in existing sites, those sites that they can easily access and be able to either replace meters that were there or there being a system that's already in place. For the meters that, for the areas that don't have meters or maybe older meters, the operators will need to go into their area, to their site and dig around and look for the water line. So those sites will take a longer time. In regards to the billing process, back in 2015, we started with providing the customer with a billing that showed their current bill on a flat rate versus their bill and with the metering. So they will be able to see the difference in the rates. This will help the customer adjust to what the changes are with the meters, and we will continue that process with all the new customers that will have meters installed.
Ako ti Cheryl na binari kitla di community members de rabutayo how yana tsirik kansti meters in wazeo na binari kit ako ti outreach aral in dila ti community you that is new ay dila ajo meters beda dili kena beda still sai do nina Hasa babiras del da kwabi distala dini aku bana tukes di sa doni na beras dili da sa aras li hara yuzira kare dini anige sa binala dis ako ti akun de tuti na reziki I karaoke go ako meters yara rai del da so sound six ako ti meter let's tab beras del na billing process ude how we gonna deal with the ako ti ajo ti sa you meter beras de kera meter two hon sound use ini bichaya e bikke how ye gonna write this ko ti ta ko stop release ta ko dawa the question me ti se kainde tau botahiu community bi girawa bi diso ako wana tu kens ako two beda no diro leswa auze ashuf ana.
We're really excited for the community as this important project gets started. Thank you to Cheryl Pailzote, Lydo Harvey, and Jimmy Brownfeather for joining me on 2 Degrees Out West.
WRA would like to thank our sponsors, who make this podcast and our work to fight climate change in the West a reality. Our impact sponsor is First Bank. Our premier sponsor is Vision Ridge Partners. Our signature sponsors include Kind Design, Scarpa Footwear, Sweep, and Torch Clean Energy. That's all for today's episode of 2 Degrees Out West. Do you like what you heard? Bring others into the conversation. Share this show with family, friends, and group chats alike. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X to stay up to date with the latest climate news in the West. Want to learn more about WRA's vision for a bright climate future? You can find show notes, a transcription of this episode, and more climate advocacy resources online at westernresourceadvocates.org. Thank you for listening.